Yeah. So any questions today? What time are we ending today?
3 o'clock.
Have long questions. Very long questions. Long, drawn out questions.
Talk about playing God.
The playing God, that's a thing from recovery, which is important because to me the mental state is playing God. That's what it's doing. Yes, the mental state, the selfing, is playing God. So it says in AA, first, the biggest thing in AA is the principle of surrender, yes? But even that is preceded by this idea of quit playing God. So quit playing God is, for me, recognizing that which is playing God isn't you, yeah? Because in a way, when you're identified with the selfing, it's using your God-like juice to play God with. Yes? The selfing can't produce any effects, but it can produce effects by us, by what we are. So we're like the God-like juice, and the selfing gets the juice by we becoming identified with its idea of us, and then it's now disperses, starts playing God. Maybe it can't play God in all of Raleigh, but it can play God in your little porno theater up there pretty well, yes? So the whole point is quit playing God. Now the view of that is you're not that which is playing God. That's sort of, that would be the basis of the experience. Sort of like the basis of getting out of self isn't based on getting out of self. It's realizing you're never in self. But your experience, how you would translate it would, I feel like I'm out of self, but you didn't get out of self. You realize you were never in self. See, it's the solution is before, not after. Yeah. So the assumed fact isn't seen to be a fact from here. When you come after it, it's a fact, and then you may be trying to deny it and work against it and try to minimize it. But before it, there's no fact involved, so there's not much effort. Yes, there's no effort to leave an imaginary place. And it would take no time to leave an imaginary place, yes? That's what it's like. Our experiences, we believe, are based on us getting out of something that we thought we were in. The stabilization of that seeming experience is realizing you were never in that which you thought you got out of. That's how it really stabilizes, as a not an experience or an attitude, but as a basis, like a state, as you travel. It doesn't come from you getting out of something. It comes from recognizing you were never in it. Yeah, it's totally different, because if you think you got out of something, you can also think you'll go back in it, and that's the whole dualistic spin cycle. But prior to it, there's no dualistic counterpoint. Yes, so the freedom isn't conditional; it's prior. So yeah, and our starting point is here, not after this, yeah? We're not that which is bound. Yeah. If you see things from here, you're basically fucked in a lot of ways, and then you need to get skillful means to limit the getting fucked, and maybe shorten how long you're getting fucked. In a way, a lot of ways. But here, it's a different ball game, because this finally hit the right number. This is what you are. Yeah? And it will inform you, obviously, when you hit there, because maybe it will become like the last answer to you or the unspoken yes. It won't be like something that has to get re-upped and reinvigorated and re. It has its own, it self-generates, yeah? The being is being. Just like consciousness isn't doing consciousness, it's being conscious. It's a different flavor, yeah? Now, if you had to start it up and then you'd have to keep putting gas in it so it could keep doing it, that would be something else. But in this topic, it isn't that way. It's being. It's on its own energy source, and it's not yours in a sense. It's not the mental state, nor is it based on your doing and having. It's based. All of this shit's based on it. Yeah, the whole life of the fish is based on the ocean. The ocean isn't an experience for the fish. The whole life is based on the ocean. Without the ocean, there'd be no fish, yes? Yeah.
Where does the recovery
or any of the psychobabble world fit in there.
Well, let's say here,
In other words, if you said you were in recovery, but why? What difference is
well, at one point it made a big difference.
But if you're not,
Well, you can outgrow something, but you don't have to leave it. Yes? You can outgrow something, but you don't have to leave it. It's just it's just the way of life I'm in. But I want to talk about what you said. See, mind is manifesting on many different levels, yes, in this dreaming. So if let's say this message, there is no body, there's nothing wrong, and yet you're in another experience where your house is on fire and the house is burning and your arm's burning. What does that person need to hear? They need to hear, where's the nearest source of water? Based on where they're at, yes? They don't need to hear, there is no fire, there's no water. They can hear that when the fire's put out. They'll be more apt to be willing to hear about it. But while they're getting burned alive, they're fucking taken, because if we are the reality, lending reality to situations, then that situation to that person is as real can be. Yes? And if you know anything about subjective experience, I have no idea what kind of hells people are conjuring up in their situations that lead them to suicide or other things, or to drink again. I can't say, because it's not a typical patented experience. It's a subjective one, and shit's been making up like unbelievably. So when I would look like, hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, and they believe there's a huge amount wrong with them, hey, all right, what I would say to them, if they're believing that, is do some service. Go out and help someone else, not a family member. Go to a soup kitchen, and I bet you'll get some relief from being that which you're taking yourself to be by getting out of it, yes? Another moment, if he comes back 3 months later, I may be sitting down and say, hey, listen, this whole act of selfing is this supporting this non-existent thing and then trying to live a life based on the non-existent thing. It's all appropriateness, yeah? So wherever you find yourself, seemingly, you're not there, but wherever you find yourself, certain messages are more apropos at that moment than other messages, yeah? So I go home, I work with people in AA, and I'm helpful. Here, if I was helpful, I'd be doing you a disservice. Really. Yeah. I'm not the helper of that person. I'm not the one that's not helping you. That's the good news. There's flexibility in my life. I don't have to sit on a little room. There is no self. No one needs any help. That's fucking crazy. That's just mental. That's like mental arthritis. There's no having this thing. It's being it. Yeah? And the river will run into a lot of areas. Yeah? It doesn't have a big, I can't go there. It's nature. Yeah. So that seems very contradictory and very paradoxical, but only to a failed system of thought. Isn't it? Our idea of paradox, where does it come from? From a failed system of thought trying to figure out how things really work here. It's totally mind-boggling to see how things work. It doesn't go this, therefore that. It does. You do this, you get that, everything will be great. It doesn't go that way. It can go any way it wants. Yeah. We got 25 minutes of long questions. Oh, no. Let's go to see if anyone else, and then you can have your second one. We'll go another round. No? All right, you're ready.
I really like what you said about being an experience, not being the same thing. I wonder if you could expand on that.
You can't experience being. You are a being, yes? You cannot have an experience of what you are.
Well, is the experience what you're saying is once it becomes an experience, then you start identifying with you're not in the being, because all of a sudden the experience makes you separate yourself from the being.
No, I'm not saying that. The experience can be expression of the being, but the mental states claiming of the expression of the being and saying it's your experience, that's now neutered it in a sense. You see? That's the act. The heist is so fast, you usually start after the heist. That's all I'm saying. That's what was really shown to me, like going to satsangs and stuff. I heard people share in a certain affirming, positive manner, like the all oneness and this and that. But the point is, what was hearing it was totally rooted in two-ness. Yeah? Much more important to question the referencing, the format that you seem to be displaying, more than giving you great ideas, yeah, about what is. I'd rather just see what's not and then find out what is. You don't need any ideas. Things will be revealed. Downloads will occur. But the whole point I found is, here's the message. You're a lion, you're a lion, you're a lion. And then the first mitt comes up, and here's the message, and it's a sheep mitt, and it goes, I can become like a lion. That's not the message. This is how fast, that's what I was talking about with the Death Star and stuff, right? You hear this message, but something's going to claim hearing this message, and it's probably going to go home and think about, more so the messenger usually than the message. Because that's a great way to negate the message, is negating the messenger. I don't like that messenger, therefore fuck the messenger. I'm just a mailman. I don't even want to go home and read the letters with you. I'm just giving you the spiritual subpoena. See what happens. I know it. I have faith in it. I've watched thousands of people. I watched it, and I have faith in what's happening. I just have faith in it, because we're all sitting in it right this very second. So where were we? What was the question?
Well, I was talking about.
I just want to throw you one thing. You are the answer.
You want me to throw? You can throw me out.
Oh no, it'd be too much work. I know this is going to end. I can outwait you.
We were talking about the relationship between being and experience.
Well, the being can't be experienced. That's the point. You'd have to be something else to experience it. If you're being, how can you experience being? You can only be being, yes? It's much different. Experiences come and go.
Well, I just think they're coming.
Yes.
If you want,
Oh, don't worry, honey. It's all right. They're not going to let you back in tomorrow, so don't worry. Make it the most of it. Because at 3 o'clock, your attendance is finitoed.
I'm sure I'll be accused of too much ego, but I'll just make another tiny comment. I was thinking as you were speaking about a retreat I went to at Eckhart Tolle, and someone asked him about sex, and he said, well, his comment about sex was that, he was sitting, I guess it was a retreat in India, and he was out meditating, and he saw a monkey that was on a tree, and the monkey started having sex with this other monkey right away, and then finished, and then jumped to another tree and ate a banana. And so Eckhart says, that's sex. That's what it's about. And my question was, what about the little baby monkey who is taking care of them while he's having this wonderful moment?
We not go there. This isn't the right context.
Sorry.
That message. No, it's fine. Somewhere else, yeah.
But I guess my point is, where does, in the being world, where does this sense of, I don't know, is there any sense of responsibility to others and others?
For sure.
In the being,
or not.
In the being sense of the word?
No, not in the being sense of the world, I wouldn't feel, but as this expression, yeah, you have a sort of modicum amount of responsibility, don't you? I would say I see it more as accountability. I don't feel like I'm responsible for things, but I have a very graphic description with alcoholism, which is sort of like a parasite to me. And so, I was accountable for what happened because I was sort of like the vehicle that was used to drive to the bank. Yes, but I'm not responsible. It's sort of like a dog. If my dog shits on a neighbor's lawn, I'm not responsible. I didn't shit on his lawn. I'm accountable. I'll clean it up, but I probably won't think about it much. I won't be embarrassed by it. Yes. So I feel here as an action figure, I'm accountable in this court. This is like as in Rome, do as the Romans do. You're not going to go up in front of a court yet in this country and say, oh, I didn't kill that person because there is no person. And I'm going to use the non-duality, to get off. I'm setting a new precedent. Did I really kill somebody? I don't think there was a person, and there was no person, I don't think you'll be in jail that night, so I don't know. So there's you have to see, the Course would call them levels, manifestations of level. You ask a question, let's say on one level, and its answer is on that level. So it's like, yes, accountable and responsibility. Now on another level, that's not the answer, yes? But if on this level you try to if the mental state tries to use this as leverage here, it doesn't fucking work. I did it when I first heard this message years and years ago. Remember, I was living in Australia and I got into it. I really liked the idea, especially presented as not being the doer and stuff. So the mental state like that. So I was with my girlfriend and she left and I had some chores to do. When she got back home, she realized I hadn't washed the dishes. She says, Paul, why didn't you wash the dishes? I said, there's no Paul to wash the dishes. So she said, fuck you, Paul, wash the dishes. So my head tried to use this message quite a lot, but it's sort of like a coyote in the desert. When it runs into a desert tortoise, it tries to roll it around. It can't get in after a few minutes and it leaves. It loses interest in it. That's sort of what the mental state happens to the mental state. It will try to make a lot out of this message, but it's going to run out of, nothing's going to happen. Absolutely nothing. And so I see a lot of people, that's people who are addicted to experiences, they will not stay at messages of non-duality. There's no fucking way. They want spirituality to be a spectacle. They want to have experiences. They want to feel like they're getting super better or like that. This isn't what's on offer here. So it's based on the store you come in. So for me, the whole point here is nothing. You come in with it, you get nothing, you leave with nothing. And if people who know me, they come back 10 years later, Paul, have you added any new things? No. It's the same fucking message every freaking year. And now it's even gotten more whittled down because basically you can't go any farther back to where the selfing of Ramana says. I don't see, there's nothing more really to go over other than that first little hiccup, which is the presupposing of a non-existent thing and then wanting to be free as the non-existent thing. That's it. After that or before that, that's us. Yeah? We're that, which we're also during and after it, but that's where it can seem to be forgot. If it produces its effect, then after it, we don't know that. Yeah? But before, it's obviously we're that, and that this is like a possibility or an assumption or a presupposing, hey, maybe you like to bite into this. You're a non-existent thing. Wanting to get salvation for you as a non-existent thing. Okay. And then the story of Paul goes. Now, does it mean it has to continue? No, the story will, but then the mind can lift off quite easily because it was never adhered to it. It's just seemingly the way it's going. Nothing ever happened here. There's nothing that has to be undone. There was no doing of it. The undone is prior to the doing, not after the doing. Because if it's after, there'll be doing to do again, and then undoing, and then doing and undoing. You can't get out of the commerce of this place. Every coin here is two-sided. If you believe you achieve something, you're going to believe you can lose it. That's not fucking worthy of achievement. The only thing worthy of achievement can't be achieved. It's what we are. It's always available at all times with no requirement necessary. And it doesn't have to look enthusiastic or loving gazy or nothing. It's just dog shit awareness. You're just awake to being awake. Yes? It's not a realization.
What would you call it? And then I'll call it.
What would I call it?
Yeah. What is it that you have now that you used to be on?
I hate to get into these things, but I don't have anything now. But I know where you're going. So somehow in time it looked like I didn't have something and then something happened and now I seem to have it. All right? Okay. So here's the story. Let's say we're in a movie.
But that's not my question.
Oh, no, it isn't.
I can say it. I can say it better.
All right.
All right. So now, you, I guess. So right now, I think that I am this long-lasting, independent individual. That's what I think I am. Now, if I find out that I'm not that I am that, I think you use the term mind, that, then will there be less identification with thoughts? I mean, thoughts will keep going.
Yes.
But
But it won't be you less identified. It won't be you less identified. There'll be less identification with thought, but it won't be you that's less identified.
So there will be less identification, less identifying with thought.
Yeah, because as you open this, you said, I think something. See, what came after it was the product of the think. Yeah, so you are, I am, but you said, I think I am. See, as soon as it's I think I am, that I am is not. That comes after the I am, the think. Yeah, the thinking neuters it. So there was the I am, and then you said, I think I am. As soon as I think I am, that's not. Yes, you see it? So it's when the thinking doesn't have the sway it has now, there'll just be the I am. Right now, we're more interested in I think I am, or I think I'm not. But in fact, when the thinking weakens, it's I am, yeah, I am not, ba. Yes?
I just want some comfort.
Yeah.
But there will be some less identification with thought.
Oh, yes, for sure.
But I didn't know the word.
But see, it won't be you that will be enjoying it.
Oh.
Ah. See, that's why you have an interest of having less identification as thought. You have the interest as born as being the thinker of it.
Right.
Yes, that's the point. The real relief is from all the interests. In other words, in a lot of ways, you seem to be totally disinterested. In a lot of ways. Because all the interest that was going to all that shit that comes after I think I am, now doesn't go there anymore. And so therefore it's not carried out here by the same vehicle, the thinking, yeah? So your interest gets usually shifted quite a lot. Not your interest, the interest. It does.
Where does it go? It doesn't go to what?
I think it goes here, right now.
To the now.
Well, yeah, there's nowhere else for it to go. That's the beauty of it. So it's sort of like, you ever hear of faith? You know, faith, they talk about faith a lot. And then there's other faiths like Islam and Buddhism, whatever, Christianity. But for me, faith is a force of mind, big M mind, faith, yeah? And its expression here in manifestation is going to be based on the vehicle it's put in. So there's clear examples of it. When there's faith in the thought system, that faith in the thought system is going to produce tons of anxiety out of what's not happening. Because the thought system's main grazing area is yesterday and tomorrow. So you're going to produce a lot of effects out of imaginary fields. Not based on the fields, because they're imaginary. Not based on the thoughts, the seeds, which are imaginary, but on mind, faith, yeah? And then if that same faith, if something else is distributing it, let's say, something non-selfish, non-self or whatever, just a different modality, now that faith enriches your day right now. Yeah? It's allowing an ease and comfort and an ability to just accept circumstances as they are with no effort or thought. It just comes with its nature, so to speak. So the faith is everyone's in tons of faith right now. Faithing is the main thing going on here, really, in the dream, is faithing. And it matters what vehicle it's put in. I have a very distinct, seemingly long period of experience with the faith in the thought system. And that drove me to fucking shoot dope in my neck to get relieved. Tons of shit happened from there. I believed everything that was being said up there. And I followed it like a foot soldier. And I lived in a lot of fear rooted in what's not happening. That's based all on faith. Now the faith has been redistributed, and it brings a sense of satisfaction and contentment being right in this little humble room with us humble people. Yes, it's just chilled out. It's the same energy. It's just, its effect is going to be based on the vehicle it's put in. And you basically are a distribution center, really. Something's going to take over you, and it's going to express through you. It could be the mental state, or it could be what you call the spirit state, but it's going to. Yeah. One's always available at all times. The other one thrives in time. Yeah. One is timeless. One is being. It's not culminating. It's not trying to fulfill itself. It's just expressing. The other is totally inherently empty, and it's quite agitated and anxious about that. So it's constantly has a desire to become and unbecome, and that's the mental state all day. And one second. So how can you use activity, like a great Zen master said? How can you use activity to produce stillness? That would be activity. So this is what's happening. The mental state in selfing is constantly agitated. It's in a desire to become something it thinks it's not, and to unbecome something it thinks it is. It's basically it's like a slinky on an eternal staircase. It's just going, yes, yes. Now, what happens if this faith is resting somewhere else, let's say in the being? Then this life is seen as an expression. You're seen as being used. You're seen as a brush that an artist is using. And you find out by the painting as it's coming through. You have no fucking idea. These kind of qualities start becoming obvious. You see the choreography of the place. You see tons of coincidence become the norm. Wow, millions of vignettes with certain people. It's a lovely orchestration. Yeah, it's the same stuff. It's just how it's been seen, how it gets collated, how it gets presented. Yeah. To me, it's like a huge upgrade, let's say, if you look at it as a computer. Yeah? You get upgraded. Yeah? It's iOS nothing. Wireless, no wires, nothing, no. Yeah. See, if I had something to sell, except shirts, I do have something to sell. Shirts. That was a good lead-in, wasn't it? I do have some shirts to sell, which I love to sell. But if I had something to sell, I couldn't come here, man. I've never shown up at any meeting I've ever done. And when I go home and I tell about this event, all I can talk about is the lunch I had, the people I saw, the latte I drank. There's nothing I can say about this. It's all inherently empty. It's like every talk I've ever done is just a big fucking hole in time. And it's just like the coyote. My mental state was the coyote, tried to get into that desert tortoise. It gave up, and now it's fucking concerned. So I'd like to get a shirt at a thrift store or a latte. It's very meager goals now. I hope they can have some gluten-free bread for me. You know, these are like its big yearnings. And you just get, it's traveling lighter. Yes.
So, like with this, okay. So the thing is that, like you're constantly trying to like own whatever's going on.
You're not. The head is. You're not.
Right, but still, that's what this thing does. I mean, that's what I do. Like, okay, so yes, even if I say it's not me, I immediately okay, well, I want to see differently. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get out of that? How do you?
By realizing.
So then there's the person that's trying to get out of it. So
Exactly, but the realization is you're not that which wants to get out. Just try it that way. I bet you the tumblers of the lock move. Yes? The escape is, there is the wisdom, the great wisdom is of no escape. You cannot escape from an imaginary place. So all this turbulence and tying knots, yes, it keeps happening, and it seems to happen to you and from you, but it doesn't. See, that's the good news. When all's said and done, nothing ever happened. Really. Yeah, you are that what you have always been and always will be. Your consciousness, does your consciousness ever dim down? The most ugliest thing you saw just as clear as you saw the most beautiful thing, yes? The aperture, oh, no, no, no. That's what we're like. It's always open, always available at all times with no thought or effort. Yeah, you can rest there. Now, there's lots of thought and effort. The action figure may have to go through. But there's no thought and effort in being what you are. Why? That's why we do so much thought and effort, because this is what we're not. We can't, we're trying to find peace as if we're really this, and if we get to the bottom of it, and I can just be me, everything would be fine. But that me isn't you. That's why it's always still agitated. But if you fell into what you are, in a sense, and that's just a picture, there's no falling into it, you're in it now. But if something allowed you to have a sense of 51% of the stock just go on to the being side, yeah, it really doesn't, it doesn't break out in sweats much. It really doesn't. It's not concerned about losing itself. It really isn't. It's not concerned about getting more of itself. It just is. Yeah. It's a very stabilizing, and it's not that exciting. Really, it's so much more exciting to lose something and then find it than to just always be it. I mean, how I'm just like I was yesterday. I'm still exactly like I've always been. Wow, fuck, hang up. I mean, how long's the conversation gonna go? You know what I mean? It's like, I went through this. Oh yeah. But hey, nothing's fucking ever happened to me. You wouldn't even call. You know what I mean? You're not blogging. Fucking, everything's totally okay, man. People try to get you on Facebook to get you engaged with like spiritual diatribes on Facebook. Fucking unbelievable. It just blows my mind. How could you have any kind of real communication writing shit down? You gotta see somebody, yes? You gotta have some. I do, yes. I like presence, not like sitting there and writing up and then. I mean, when I first ran into it, I used to call them spiritual. What were they? Non-dual Pharisees, right? They have the letter of the law perfect, but maybe they're losing the spirit, Like, you said I, you said me, you said a what? Something pronoun. Oh no, you're off the game. The non-duality purity game. You're out. Next contestant. He was a great master for 20 years. Okay, I read you out. It's unbelievable. I don't know, Yes. Yes, you again.
But you said that the mind, it can only go with past and future. It doesn't have the life or something. It has no life
Yeah.
in the now.
Yeah.
Well, but the next day when I had my flight crisis, I realized you were right.
Yeah.
So it's thought. They're either there or there.
Yeah.
They're never here. But
Well, they're here, but they're about there and there.
well, it's so Carolyn told me that my mind is asking why. And I'm sure Carolyn is right. That my mind wants to know why is it that this can't say, what do you mean by saying that it has no life? I don't understand.
Well, you're explaining it really well right now.
No.
Yes, you are. first of all, that the mental state, right? The thoughts are now, yes? But the thoughts, when entertained, yes? When entertained by that which saying that it's having the thoughts, they imply past and future. And then what comes up is you as a body, yes? Yeah. So here, there really no evidence, like Douglas Harding's old story about having no head, yeah? You're basically just a space. You never see your head unless you see a mirror. You see everyone else's, but you really don't get to see you all day, yeah? So let's say, so you're really the space holding for all this to happen. So the mental state arises now, yeah? But then when it reads, when it opens up its own little progenies, a picture of you as a body is seen. Let's say if you're thinking about yesterday, while you're thinking about yesterday, first of all, it's not you, but when the thinking about yesterday's going on, there's a picture or a sense that you're a body arising now. Yes? And when you're worrying about you in the future, the worrying is a remembering of being a body now. It's never in the future, yeah? And when you're having a memory of something in the past, the feeling of it is now. And so what you get is a sense of a body by thinking about you in the past and the future. You get a sense that you're the body. This is how it's reinforcing the identification, yeah? So that mental state is more like a moon to the sun. It's living on a reflection of the light, yes? It's living on a reflection of the light. So that which is being reflected by the mental state, and it's being used as like a spotlight on that which you aren't. Yeah? So it uses the thoughts and everything to generate a sense, and then the mind fills in the outline, so to speak. And oh, I'm a body, yes? It's a production. You got to see it. It's amazing. That's why you have so many thoughts, and most of the thoughts have nothing to do with right now. They have to do with you later and before. Yeah? So it's like 2 gears the mental state goes in. Backward, forward, backward, forward. Because if it stops, right, it doesn't have an engine. Yeah? Its fuel is like smoke and mirrors, yeah? So if it ever arrived here, you would see exactly what it is, which it isn't. Yes. Because it could never arrive here. There's nothing there to arrive. It's empty. Go to a house, yes, like they use the self-inquiry, who am I? Go to a house and you knock on it 1,000 times and no one shows up at the door. No one's home. You know what I mean? it's indicating something. There's nobody home. You know, oh, but I think there's someone. I assume somebody. No, nobody home. But see, in past residences, you can appear. In future residences, you appear. So when the thought system knocks on the past, you show up as a body, seemingly. When it knocks on the future, you show up as a body. But here, right now, you knock, no one's answering. See it. Ask, use who am I? Ask that question. What does it do? It says me. Ask who's me. No one ever fucking shows up. That's you. That's your original face in Zen. There is no face. You're there. You're totally so there. And it's like you knocking on the door to find you. Huh? It's like the fish, you know. If you think something happened to you and you wake up, seemingly, but if you wake up to the fact that it's always been the case, is that really a happening? Is that really like, did that lady really lose her necklace and then find it? Or in fact, the necklace had never not been there. It's always been there. So really, no one has an event of an awakening. Because basically, you're seemingly coming to the fact of what has always been. I wouldn't call that a happening. I would call that so-ness would negate all the other seemingly happenings. When that happening occurs, which is always happening, it negates all the other stories about what we thought has happened. Yeah? So to me, we have stories about this, a radical shift occurred, but a radical shift occurred in that which is always occurring. How can you say it occurred? For something to occur, it implies that it wasn't occurring before. And that's how it seems in the storyline. But when it happens, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like nothing ever fucking happened. This has always been this way. It's never not been this way. It isn't like it's suddenly, this thing got demolished and then suddenly it shows up. It's like it shows up and then negates everything else you thought had been showing up. Not with a giant sword. It's just like, nothing, none of that was happening. It was dreaming. I mean, it doesn't, you don't get it like on an installment plan. It just rushes in and it's like, it just, and it's not like a vicious negating. It just says, hey, all the happenings you think you've had haven't happened. There's been no you to them to happen to. Like that. So how, you know what I mean? So it's great. That's how I see it. So I don't talk about any awakening because I'm awake now, in a sense. We all are. It's not like I'm awake separating me. We're all awake. Yeah? There was never a moment, it hasn't been a case, so how could anything have happened? How could I have become awake to what's always awake? As soon as you become awake to what's always awake, it's obvious it's always been awake. So there was, in hindsight, you never came to awakeness. Yeah, because it's always been awake. You see it? Just riffing, but you know, it's just here. You have an awakening. So, all right, whatever. There's an event. I'm gonna destroy my career in some ways here. There's an event, but what you seem to wake up to has always been available. So, in time, after the awakening, the story will be told that suddenly this radical shift happened, but did it? Did the necklace ever get lost? Even though when she believed the necklace was lost, she was in misery, and then when she believed she found the necklace, she was in joy, but she didn't really find the necklace, so the finding the necklace didn't produce the joy, because the necklace had always been there. Yeah? So, yes, and either or, exactly. So, but the point is, if this, you know, a lot of things have happened, but when this dawns on you, it's not like a lot of things happening. It's that which is always happening. Yeah? I don't know. It's just, it's a very, very emphatic, comprehensive, so, you know, in language, of course, it's going to sound like we were doing this and then something happened, but from there, it doesn't look like that at all. Yeah, it's always been that way, and my historical action figure has no history really. Hmm? Yeah, but all of them are rosebuds. And some of them are probably a lot happier not having the drawing.
Everybody's wearing that necklace. Oh, the necklace. Oh, you already got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I see that.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah. Well, she may have a seat assignment.
Well, okay.
Yeah. No, I don't think that wanting to dawn on them. Just watch to see if it was heisted. That there's a sense of you that you wanted to dawn on them. Yeah, just to see, if you catch the burglar in the house, it gets very meek. It just walks out of the garage and leaves everything alone. Just see it. But you're seeing, so you're not really doing much of that. You're just seeing. You have all the quality there. No, you'll see a whole lot more if you don't look. The looking sort of concentrates it. Seeing is much more dispersed. But there's a lot more revealed in seeing than looking. Looking cuts out a lot of stuff. Yeah, because there's a certain intention, and then there's a concept, a lingering one of what you look, how it's going to look. In seeing, it's much more dispersed and wide. It can be used to do that, but not necessarily so. But it can be used to do it. Yeah, usually by disappointing, by incredible disappointment. You've looked and looked and looked, and you've never been able to find, and then there's an exhaustion in the looking. And that exhaustion can be useful. Yeah? Yeah. A lot of people you look and you look and you look, and you never seem to find. And so therefore there's an exhaustion, or the system collapses, and then there's an obvious seeing. Yes? Well, that's why these talks, that's why I go. I feel like a warning on the cigarette pack. No, really, literally. I'm just like one of my most favorite stuff is the Course and stuff, and one of its main objectives is to save you time. So I lived in a way based on the template that I was attempting to describe today. All the meditation I was doing was being used to emphasize the meditator. Yeah? It's a very tricky little heist. And it was being carried on all the while I was looking for the goals of nobility and spirit and everything like that. And it has no respect for any lineage or any gold or 20,000-year program. It will use it. And so by seeing that, and maybe the seeing became more contrasted because I had been so intently looking for it, that not brought about, but the system just worked well where there was a collapsibility to it. Yeah, I saw that, Jesus Christ, that it was pointless what I'd been doing. Completely pointless. And it shocked me because the only identity I had at that time was I was a house painter, and I wasn't really that good of one, and I was a good spiritual seeker. That was the only identity. That's all I had going for me in a way. And then that was pulled out from underneath me. And it was like really, really, like the mental state went on a lot of five alarmness. But for some reason, I didn't try to do anything about it. And then I saw that I was that which I am before I went to talks, during talks, after talks, bad days, good days. And then the untouchability of it became obvious. That I, as this, had nothing to do with it, really. Yeah? And then it became that which is obvious became obvious. And that, not only that, see, that to me, a lot of people it becomes obvious to, and then the mental state arises, and that's used to drive them fucking crazy the rest of their life because they feel like they blew it or they lost it. Yeah? See, I saw that heist. See, I got to see the burglar, and then I got to see the burglar before the burglar, and then the burglar before that burglar, and then the burglar before that burglar. And there was a point where it stopped, and I haven't seen anything ever since. Boom, yeah? But it was about 6 or 7 of them. I recognized something. It was beautiful, really. I went to a satsang like this. I was just sitting there. First one I think I ever went to. And this lady said something, so I raised my hand, and I said, wow, I just want to share. I came in here, and there was seeing of the mental states, emotional states, this and that, but I thought it was me seeing them. And now I realized that was a mental state, seeing the mental state, yeah? And then this set off a trigger where the aperture, let's say here, yeah? See, this is safe realizations. When they open up like this is when it gets really good, when it opens up like this. And then you're seeing from a different point. So here it was. So it went like this. So the aperture opened up. I see I get to see the burglar. No, for a couple of months. But this other things happened. But this is a good way of showing it. So the aperture opened up, and then what I called me was now on this side of the camera. I got a good glimpse. All right, I'm walking and doing my thing, and then suddenly the next burglar that was saying it was behind the camera was revealed. So it's like, oh, I'm seeing that, which is seeing that, which is seeing that. And then I'm all right. I'm there. I'm totally clear and everything like this. Suddenly, I see another one, and then I had 7 of them, and then it never happened again because my mind had like the 100 monkey. It saw it, and they realized the mental state's always going to arise and attempt to claim the space that it's in, not contextual, but in. It's going to say, I'm the context looking at the context. Like Ramana has a great story of, there's the movie of life, you're sitting in the auditorium, you realize it's not real. Yeah, but there's an assumption, a subtle one, that you're the reality seeing it. And he says the circle is bigger, you sitting in the auditorium is included. And never that you that's sitting is never going to be on the other side of the camera. It's always, and that's what happened. I saw 7, let's say, mental incarnations of it, and I realized I had like the 100 monkey thing and went, boom! It says that's what it does. It's just always going to say that it's the one that's seeing when all there is seeing. It was awesome, yeah? It was pretty cool. And then it went back, I feel, as far as it could go, and the ball was put down, and that was it. What are you going to do? And I haven't had an answer since, or a turbocharged, addition to the answer. And the beautiful thing, I've never looked for another answer. So to me, obviously, it's been the last answer. And all I've been doing is entertaining it now, because that's what mind does. It entertains. So it's entertaining all this. It can entertain that. Yeah. Whew. Now. Yeah. Well, we're all different flutes, but it's the same breath. Some have more holes than others. But really, yes, for sure. Yeah, it's just whatever. Certain things resonate with me, other things don't. Again, here as a storyteller, yeah, of course, because I used to go on retreats all the time, shooting cocaine. 10 days I'd be up, but we had no food, and man, you would go to extreme states where the beast was really fucking furious. Also, you'd enter delirium, which would be a relief from it, and then you go into a comedic state. But I saw, selfing. I saw selfing. I was the butt end of it for many years, and so now it's nice to see it from some other place than underneath it. Yeah, but there was lots to learn. I mean, you learn a lot about it by living under it, but that's not going to lead to a solution. But if the solution dawns, that will be used to inform others. Yeah, because what this message to me is really, we're always talking about what we're not, in my view. I don't think, if you're going to teach anything, it's going to be teaching about what you're not, with the point of seeing that you're not that. You can't teach what you are, obviously, because you're being what you are. Yeah, but you can teach what we're not. So to me, that's why I like the word inviter. I'm just inviting people. I've never taken a position of being a teacher, except maybe teaching about what we're not. I do that, but I never talk about what we are much, because what's the point? You are it. To me, it's more about finding out. Yeah, you'll find out what you are by knowing what you're not. You'll become more obvious for sure. Because if you don't know what you're not, you'll take yourself to be it. That's the dilemma. Yeah, that's what I saw with satsangs. People were hearing a very good message, but there was a person hearing the message. That's what has to be directed. You've got to look at that, or because it will new to every message it hears. And then they'll go to 20 teachers and nothing will get through, because what it's getting through to is the non-existent thing. It's claiming it, and you never get the message. Yeah, you get its idea of the message was you're going to do something, you're going to have something, and then you're going to live in tons of fear that you're going to lose. That's something you did. Yeah. 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 That's it. And then that's the starting and end point. And then it's just entertaining. Yeah. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Well, for me, I believe that's what mind does here. This is the dreaming, is entertaining. We're dreaming, and part of the dreaming is entertaining the dream. And I think and so the point is, for me, give a different message. The mind is always entertaining. Give it a message that's worthy of its entertainment, which is nothing. Nothing is the gift that keeps on giving. Really, nothing will never disappoint you. It isn't. It's the most beautiful, freaking, out in plain sight gift of all gifts. Nothing. So that's it, I think, eh? Hey, thank you for having me.